Yo, what's up, guys? TheInsaneGamefreak here. I'm here to bring you another Pokemon Best Wishes episode review of episode 8, featuring the two Pokemon Darumaka and Hihidaruma, which is pretty much pre-evolution and evolution of those. The first fire, one of the first fire types you see in the issue region. If you want a clear description of what it looks like, it kind of looks like, how to put it? I call it the fire monkey because that's literally what it is. It just seems like a monkey in a fire version. And pretty much, well, let me just go ahead and get through the episode review. Anyways, it starts out with Ash, Gento, and Iris sitting there eating. They're like making food and whatever for lunch, as usual. And they're waiting on the food to be made because Iris, got berries. And Gento's like, no, we're going to cook it. I want to cook things because it's not really healthy. And I was like, I don't care if it's healthy as long as it tastes good. I'm like, no, healthy. Anyways, he's doing that, and while they're sitting there waiting on the food to be prepared, a Darumakka shows up, which is the pre-evolution of Hihidaruma. I'm not gonna get these names right because they're in Japanese. I'm probably just gonna end up learning the English names anyway before I learn all the Japanese ones. Anyways, Darumakka shows up, and they go through the whole Pokédex spiel, and they're like, oh, this is what he does, and this is who he is. He's a fire type, for those who don't know. Anyways, they're talking to him, they're like looking at him, saying this, apparently he has this thing where he, like, if he ever goes to sleep, you won't be able to wake him up until the fall, so like what the Darmanitan does, he's playing around and he goes to sleep, and hers has this thing where she doesn't know how to approach Pokemon that she thinks is cute because she always pinches the living daylights out of their cheeks and shit, which to me is just freaking ridiculous. And it's funny because it seems like no Pokemon likes it. And then Darumakka goes to sleep. While that happens, another Darumakka that they don't find out until like 10 minutes later walks up and steals the Pokemon food that Gento made for Kibago and Pikachu. Takes the Pokemon food. Kibago gets pissed off at Pikachu, attacks Pikachu thing, and Pikachu took his food, and then the other food disappears, and then they realize there are two Darumakka. Anyways, Darumakka now both, you find out the first one was faking, and that was just a ploy to steal their food, which they ended up doing, is stealing their food. And they're running away, and Ash is like, go Mijimaru, water versus fire, he should win, right? No. They dodged this water gun and shot Mijimaru with a double flamethrower, which I thought was a legitimate reason for it to get KO'd. Hence why I didn't get that mad when they got KO'd by it. What I thought was a little over dramatic is that they went over and they freaked out and they said, oh god, we gotta get this thing to the Pokemon Center quick. They got a Pokemon Center, it took them all day for them to heal the Pokemon. And then Joy, which is something I want to mention. Joy, Nurse Joy is still doing the whole Pokemon Center deal. It's just she looks different because it's issue region, and the whole thing about Pikachu being rare is just another thing. I think it's just like a different. It's not even really a whole new. I'm gonna make the joke, but it's not like it's a whole new world. It's just that they're on an island. Like the entire area of issue is pretty much a fucking island, so it makes sense that a lot of the shit's changed. That's why there isn't a Chansey with Nurse Joy. There's something called Taboon, which kind of looks like a Chansey-like Pokemon. It reminds me of something, but it's not a Pokemon. It reminds me of something. It looks familiar to something I know, and I want to say it reminds me of a Digimon, to be honest with you. Somewhat. If you look at it, like, go watch the episode, you'll see it in the whole Nurse Joy thing. It looks fairly, interesting, to say the least. Anyways, Nurse Joy explains that Darmanitan and the Hihidaruma and the Hihidaruma, which you don't even see until later in the episode, used to be playing around and whatnot, and playing around with the town citizens. They used to be like just chilled and shit, but for whatever reason that you stopped in the Hihidaruma and the Darmanitan start stealing food from everybody. They're like, what the fuck is up with that? Later on, they decide to spend the night there. After that little explanation, oh yes, in the clock tower, which becomes a thing for the rest of the episode. They mention how Iris sees the clock tower, thinks it's pretty. Joy tells her that it's gonna get them on. She's like, oh, and then they go eat. They stay the night at the Pokemon Center. Pretty much what happens there is they're eating, and Dento makes like a comment like, "You two act like you're not alike, but you're more alike than what I can see because they're both eating like the food from the Pokemon Center really fast, like almost in sync." And then they spaz and go, "We are not like each other." He's like, "All right." Dento's like, "All right, we're all good. Everything's cool. I am officially scared now." Anyways, they're talking, and Miss Joyce says, "Well, since there's a full moon out tonight, let's go get some moon-shaped dumplings." In which Ash is like, "Fuck yeah, let's get some goddamn dumplings. I love dumplings. That shit's delicious." And they go and try to get the dumplings, and Darmanitan is stealing the dumplings. So what Ash, like a sensible 10-year-old apparently does, is jump out the window and chase the Darmanitan down the streets, and he sends out his Mama Peto, which is pretty much this issue region's Pidgey, and has it follow them. And then they lose sight of them, and then they have Ash, Iris, and Dento follow them because they split up, and they fall one. Dento falls one, and Ash and Iris try the other one. Couple hinting, you can already see it. It's way too early in the series, but it's Pokemon, so you expect it. Anyways, you keep going. They both, Dento and Ash and Iris, lose sight of the Darmanitan they were each individually chasing. Mama Peto goes, "I found them." Shows them at the clock tower. They just happen to be at the clock tower. You already knew it was gonna be a plot device. They go to the clock tower. They follow the Darumakka up there in the clock tower. Pretty much a whole bunch of randomness ensues in the sense of they BS fight. Ash goes, "We're not here to fight you. We're just trying to figure out what the fuck is up with you. Randomly starting to steal food, even though you used to be so cool with the citizens and shit." They go up to the top level, and that's where you find Hihidaruma, the evolved form of the Darumakka. And it's like in this stone-looking form that has heat emitting from it, and it's apparently, I did not know this, apparently it's half psychic. So Darumaka's evolution turns from a fire type to a fire psychic type, and apparently Hihidaruma has this thing where it has two modes. It has an active mode and it has a meditation mode. The meditation mode is when, oops, I'm going to flick someone off in a minute. It has a meditation mode that uses psychic powers, and it's holding up a bell. Apparently what happened in the story we find out is that the reason why they're stealing food is because Hihidaruma, they lived in that clock tower, and the bell was about to fall, so Hihidaruma saved it. The problem is since it couldn't move, there was no point being in its physical state, so it went back into its meditation state and held it up with psychokinesis. The problem is it was going to lose energy, so you get it, Darumaka had to steal food to feed Hihidaruma so it wouldn't lose energy, so it would keep up the bell. The problem is that in its meditation mode, it emits heat, and it was emitting so much heat, it was just going to fuck shit up anyway. So what they had to do is they had to get Pokeboo and the Darumaka use their fire attacks to burn the little hook thing that they found, but it wasn't bent. It got de-bent. I don't know how, but it wasn't bent, so they couldn't hook it right that way. So they had to get Pokeboo and the Darmakas to light the shit on fire, and then Dento sent out his Yandapu to use Bullet Seed and bend it back into the shape it needed to be so they could hook it. And after that, they did all that, and they're like, cool. The problem is they couldn't get up there at Ash, and they couldn't get up there to, hook the thing on. So what happened is that apparently Hihidaruma was still conscious in this state and used his psychokinesis, which I think is just psychic. I think that's what it would translate out to. Use psychic, moves them up there to hook it on. They hook on the hook, but they try to grab the bell, and they're too far away. This is where Hihidaruma's like, fuck it. They did what I needed them to do. I can take it from here. He goes back into his active mode, grabs the bell, throws the bell up, and for whatever reason, then after that point, he jumps around the bell to get on top of where Ash is and grabs the bell from like the other side and pulls it up. Because really all they needed was, all Hihidaruma needed is for someone to put the hook on so he had something to hook it to, or else the bell would just drop. Now, the only thing I think is a little retarded about this is that they don't really explain the bell thing. Like, they have it where the bell is, they say, like Dento says, if the bell were to fall, it would have fucked the entire building up. You know, you find out in the beginning of the episode, Joy says it's scheduled for demolition anyway. But maybe the Hihidaruma didn't know that. Also, what I also thought was weird, why didn't they just gently put the damn bell down? If Hihidaruma's strong enough to hold the fucking thing, I would have just gently put it down. Then again, maybe the weight of the bell would have been too much. That could be a reason. Or they are on the top floor of a very old clock tower, so that would make sense, I guess. Anyways, that was the reason why they were stealing food. They stopped stealing food. They're about to leave. Hihidaruma and Darumakka, they say bye. Ash says bye. Iris says bye. Jinjo says bye. And end of the episode. It was alright. It was alright. I thought the most interesting thing is that for whatever reason, Issue has a fire psychic type. I thought that was interesting. The Pokemon itself was interesting, even though it looks kind of weird. What really got me hyped is the next episode, because you find out Iris has more than one Pokemon. Because apparently in the preview for the next episode, Iris, like, Kibago gets stuck in the horns of this other thing. I don't even know what the fuck its name is. It's like I'm assuming it's like, it looks like a poison dragon. I think it's just a poison type, but if it's a dragon, I'd be tripped out on that shit too. And in the preview, Ash is like, "You don't have any other Pokemon?" She's like, "Yeah," but she's hesitant. And I think the Pokemon she has is that fucking mole, that mole Pokemon that I thought was really cool. It's evolved form. So I'm a little interested to see why in the hell she has that mole Pokemon, but why is she so hesitant about bringing it out, and why she never brings it out. So I guess the next episode is going to be character development for Iris, which we kind of need because we don't even know what her goal is, because she apparently doesn't have one. So I'm assuming this Pokemon may have something to do with that, or some shit around that area. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm looking forward to it. The Bakuman review should be up like probably about an hour after this, because I haven't watched it yet, and they just became subbed. So I decided to get the Pokemon one out of the way, and I will go and do Bakuman, and like after I watch it, which will be like directly after this. So as far as the review goes, it was alright. It was alright. I mean, it's Pokemon. I mean, the thing is, if you're gonna judge episodes of Pokemon, you gotta realize you can't put it at the standard you put One Piece episodes. You gotta put it at the Pokemon standard, which is pretty much chill, because you know there's gonna be filler for Pokemon. But at the same time, it wasn't a bad episode. I thought the only thing that was the bell thing was kind of weird, but here Daruma seems like a cool, interesting mix of psychic and fire. I don't know if it's actual type of psychic and fire, but that's what they portrayed it in the anime, so I'm assuming that's the way he is in the game. The way he looks is alright, anime-wise. He still looks kind of creepy, but he looks more like a Pokemon than some of these fuckers. Some of these fuckers don't look like Pokemon. Some of these fuckers look like they should be in Weevil's bug deck. I'm talking about the preview. You won't know, and they should... fuck it. Anyways, this is like... You can kind of... You could skip it, honestly. Consider the fact it just came out, it's the newest one. Why I'm watching it. But in terms of like actually watching it, if you want, when it comes to America and on the DVD kind of shit, you can kind of skip it. I mean, it's not like groundbreaking. Now, last episode, that's a different story, but this episode, you kind of could skip. Unless you want to know about Hihidaruma, who looks like a cool dude, but I probably wouldn't put him on my black and white team. Just not yet. We're gonna get further in the series. I know that mole I saw in the preview is definitely going on my team. He looks like a G. He looks too much like a G for me not to put his ass on that team. On that team, I got my squad ready. It's game time, motherfucker. I gotta start hanging out with the phone. This is ridiculous. Anyways, last game. Put a win, and I will see you guys next week for another review of Pokemon Best Wishes. Oh, random face. Alright, that's stupid. Anyways, I will catch you guys later. Wait, I gotta come up with a patent ending for the Pokemon ones. Pikachu!